Okay, yes, hello. You chose option D. That is totally correct, and that is the one I would write down. I will tell you that's not the only correct answer. So I'm going to try and tell you how to see that this answer is correct, and so is another one. Here's how we'll go. Here's what I do with unless. Let's start here. Wherever you see a sentence with unless, one thing you can do, one way of getting that into TFL. There are multiple ways, but here's one way. Replace the word unless with if not. So if I do that here, if I replace the unless with if not, then we wind up with Florida faces power brownouts this summer if the public does not cut back on its use of electricity. So if I try to write that, if I try to symbolize that, well, I'll remember that in order to get from the English with an if in it into TFL with arrows, I need to rearrange the sentence so that it's in the form if A then B instead of in the form C if D. So we've got Florida will get power brownouts. So B if not C. Now, remember, I also recommend when you're rearranging something like C if D, if you're rearranging something into the form if A then B, wherever you see an if, that's got to stay stuck on the thing that comes after it. Don't forget, if is different from only if, but when you've got an if in your sentence, the if sticks on the thing that comes after it. So when I want to move that if to the beginning of the sentence, the part that comes after it, which in this case is not C, the public does not cut back on its use of electricity, that also has to get dragged to the beginning of the sentence. So we wind up with if not C, then B. So not C, arrow B. Excellent. Okay. How do we turn that into something else? I'm going to give you the answer. I'm going to give you two equivalences that together should do the trick. So here's the first one. You know already that A arrow B does not say the same thing as B arrow A. I've said this a bunch of times. The arrow, the if-then connective, is your one asymmetric connective. However, if you change the order of the arrow and do this one simple trick, then you do get something equivalent. So swap A and B and put a negation on both of them. Now you have something that does say the same thing. You'll be able to verify that for yourself next week, but you might think about it for now. Think about what each of these things says. Maybe it'll work. I mean, maybe it'll make sense to you. Okay, so A arrow B, if A then B says the same thing as if not B then not A. That's one thing. Here's the other thing. In general, double negation of a sentence is equivalent to the sentence itself. Not A. It's the same thing as A. If it's false that A, then it's true that A. This is true in our logic. There are other logics where this fails, but in our classical logic, that's going to be true. Okay. Let's apply these two things to the sentence that you got, which was correct. So we had not C arrow B. I'm going to apply these two things in turn. So first of all, I'm going to do what's called contraposition. I'm going to change the order of the two things. B arrow not C. What makes this contraposition instead of just flippity flopping is that I put negations on each of those things. So let me do that again. We started with not C arrow B. I'm going to change the order. So we wind up then with B arrow not C. And then I'm going to put a negation on both things. So now we have not B arrow not C. But then I remember that double negation, I just said, if I say it's false that C, I'm just saying C is true. So we wind up with this. If not B, then C. So that tells you that option B is also a correct answer. Okay. You got this right. Once I find my stop recording button, I will stop recording and I'll see you in the next question.